Hello, and welcome to the latest Forza Italian football podcast, the only Italian football podcast bringing you inside Serie A stadiums every single week. I am Conor Clancy, as always, messing up the introductions, and joining me laughing, as always, is Kevin Pogorzelski. Kev, hello.
Hi Connor, how are you?
Um, I'm a bit curious. What's so funny, mate?
Oh no, just your intro as always.
I don't know what's happened. They were absolutely spotless for the guts of 2.5 years recording live on YouTube. Before that, it didn't matter if they were good or not. Last month, since you've started becoming a regular, you've put the shakes into me. I don't know how to handle myself around you, Kev. An intimidating presence. So I'll move swiftly on to a friendlier guest, Vito Doria. Vito, hello.
Hi, Connor. I'm good, and yeah, I can see that. Other than the intro muck-ups, you'll be in more jovial spirits this week.
Oh, I wonder why that could be, Vito, because
Oh,
we recorded the last podcast on a Saturday evening. Since then, Atalanta have played 3 times. They beat Napoli, they beat Fiorentina 3 to Coppa Italia final, and tonight they've beaten Udinese to move into the Champions League places. So it's hard to work out why I might be happy, but there you go. Where shall we start? Right, I've made the decision. I know the Derby d'Italia was this week, but I don't really care because it's probably the least important Derby d'Italia that I can remember. So we're going to start with the Champions League race, and the big story, despite Atalanta moving into it, is the fact that Milan have properly fallen out of it. Not only that, but they've fallen out of the European places as a whole as well. They went away to Torino on Sunday evening, and quite predictably, Kev, they were thumped 2-0.
Yeah, Torino have been playing really well, but Milan have just completely fallen off a cliff in recent weeks. I said before we came on air, when they were grinding out results, that grit and determination they had was almost characteristics of Gattuso's playing days, and now they've lost that. What do they have? Because they've got these substandard attacking trio, even Piontek's off the boil. It just seems to be snowballing into an absolutely disastrous end to the campaign.
You asked quite a good question there, which is something I was going to go to. But Vito, what do Milan actually have now? Other than Paquetá and arguably Romagnoli, what is there?
look, there are players that are good enough for Milan, in my view, and players that can make a difference. But I'm still convinced that one of the main problems is Gattuso and his inability to make the most out of the squad that he has at his disposal. We've been ranting about it for quite some time, but his fixation with Suso and Çalhanoğlu has been absolutely detrimental to AC Milan's hopes, and I think he's placed so much faith in them without getting proper rewards out of it. And because of that, I think that means they'll probably miss out on the Champions League, maybe even Europe altogether. He needs to, betrayal is a harsh word, but maybe just in this limited time, just say, that's enough. You deserve to be on the bench. You're not lifting for this team.
Well, as it stands, they are completely outside the European places, which seems absolutely crazy because when Piontek came in and was just scoring goals for absolute fun, as he had been for Genoa, it just looked like, okay, Milan in fourth place. It's done. Then they beat Atalanta, and it looked like that was even more the case. But Kev, it's really just going wrong again, and fingers are being pointed at Gattuso now.
Yeah, and I think there was always the signs there that it was going to go wrong because none of those victories were overly convincing. And as Vito says, when you've got a team without any real sort of star quality, it's getting something greater than the sum of your parts out of the players there, and Gattuso hasn't been able to prove that he can do that. And it's where the likes of Torino that beat them at the weekend, man for man, even against what we're calling, I suppose, a substandard Milan, Mazzari's got them playing as more of a unit. I can't remember what the stat was or the exact number, but I think Mazzari, I think Torino have conceded the least amount of goals since the turn of the year. At least that's a basis to challenge for European qualification.
You can't come and throw something at us during the recording. That's
Mhm.
stat-based. That's poor from you.
I'm sure it's 11 goals. I'm sure it's 11 goals since the turn of the year, which is the lowest of the Serie A sides.
Which is pretty impressive, it must be said. But this is what Mazzari does, right? He comes in, he drills teams quite well defensively. Vito, you've not always been the biggest advocate of his style, but it's working for them.
No, I'm not the biggest fan, but more than anything, my concern with him was more about what they were doing on the ball and with it. In this particular game, although Milan had a lot of the possession, Torino were much slicker on the ball. They were quick in transition, and they were able to utilize the space. One of the hallmarks of Mazzari's team since he's been a Serie A coach is that they're a dangerous counter-attacking side. So even if they're not going to outpass the opposition, he has players that are going to hit on the break and they're going to create the goals and also finish them off. And now in the second half of the season, I think we're still seeing that defensive solidarity and the ability to nullify the opposition, but they're coming in with enough goals to produce the victories. And also, we're not hearing Mazzari whinging and moaning about referees because they are winning games.
Yeah, it's quite amazing the difference that makes, right? Torino aren't losing, Mazzari's not moaning about referees. It's funny how that works out. But Alex Berenguer, Kev, I wanna give him a bit of love because every time I've seen Torino this season, he's been quite impressive. And he was again against Milan. The Spaniard got himself on the score sheet, and he's quite a hidden gem there.
Yeah, because he had a fairly unspectacular career before that at Osasuna. From very little that I can remember, but sort of if you look at the game time he got there, he is only 23, so maybe he's a little bit of a later bloomer. But then I think again when we speak about the defensive solidity that Torino have got there, it allows the attacking players to then have that freedom because they're not second guessing that if they lose the ball, are they going to concede? Are they going to have to chase back for it? I think with the attack sort of minded players like them, being able to have that sort of solid base behind them allows them to go and do their thing.
Well, if we're going to speak about the more defensive-minded players, which when we speak about Toro, I guess it's only right we do. Armando Izzo, he's mad. The guy is crazy, but oh my God, does he work well on that Torino team? He must be an absolute nightmare to play against because he's not the cleanest of players. He's a bit of a Sergio Ramos light, I think, is probably a good way to describe him. And it just really, really works for him. He won the penalty for Torino against Milan, which Belotti converted to give them the lead. And Vito, would Torino be as good if they didn't have Armando Izzo?
Look, I reckon in that case, the defense would probably be a bit weaker. But also, I think they would be missing a couple goals because he has chipped in with some goals this season. And even if he doesn't score directly, just his presence at set pieces, I think with his height, it just throws off the opposition. So if Torino have a corner or free kick and it's indirect or they decide to go indirect, just having him there is very important for the Granata. Going back to his defensive game, I think he makes a big difference to that defense. And he's not bad on the ball because even when he was playing for Genoa, the dark side, he was still decent on the ball, but he would make a few errors. I think now, being 27 years old, he's matured, and I think under Mazzari, his defensive game has got even better.
Vito, can you ever mention Genoa without getting a little dig in? Every single time. Oh, it's fantastic. Never change. But the partnership he struck up there with Nicolas Nkulu is quite impressive. And Nkulu often gets the credit, which is quite understandable because he's phenomenal for them. But I think Itzo deserves a little bit of love. In front of them, then, Kev, we've got, I'm sorry, Sualio Mete. I don't know how to say his name. I don't think I ever will. But he's been one of the best players in Serie A this season.
Yeah, and it's just strange, isn't it? I just don't know where Matsari's got this from. I don't know if he's sort of been instilling this sense of belief in these players.
Does he strike you as the type, Matsari?
Matsari, no, not really. Almost a rule by iron fist type of coach rather than arm round the shoulder. But you look at the fullback. I'm trying to now think.
Silvestri or Ansaldi?
No, well, they're playing wing back. The young man on loan from Chelsea. Olaina.
Friend of FIF, mate. Come on, we've interviewed him about 3 times.
Yeah, well, it's the pronunciation that I was struggling with, but I could tell you how to spell it. But yeah, that's a sort of environment where you would think Matsari would maybe be a little bit daunting for a young player going in there in another country, but he's had a phenomenal season.
Yeah, so he's actually attracting interest from basically everyone. Both Milan clubs want him.
So his methods clearly allow these players the freedom to go out and maybe up their game,
which is not something I ever thought I would have heard said about Walter Matsari. But wow, Armando Itzo is getting some serious love in the comments. John Daniel has come in and said Itzo is a less athletic version of Cannavaro. He has the same anticipation and is great on the ball. I can only imagine that you mean Paolo and not Fabio Cannavaro, because that seems a little bit of a stretch. But this guy is a Torino fan, which I guess we'll let him romanticize his view of Itzo if he wants to. He's also said that Matsari is doing all of this without Iago Falque, which is quite a good point, because his omission of Falque from the start of the season, from before the season started, always struck me as quite strange, because Falque is a fantastic footballer when he's allowed to play. And you would expect that Torino achieving success without a player of Falque's caliber would be even more difficult, but it's just working out really, really nicely for them. Anyway, he's also said that Thomas Rincon has been their best midfielder, and he joined them from the dark side of Turin, Vito, but it's a fair point. Thomas Rincon has found himself quite nicely since going from one dark side to another dark side and now to Torino.
Yeah, that's right. What I like about Rincon is that he is that fighter in midfield. He has that work ethic, stamina, and determination. But also with him, he's another guy that's probably chipped in with some nice strikes here and there too. So for many years, whether it be with Juve, Genoa, or even when he was playing in Germany for Hamburg, to me, he was just that ball winner, and that was it. Now, I wouldn't say he's a complete midfielder or a true box-to-box type, but at least he's got that extra attribute to his game. So I think while he does his job, it's always good to see players add a little bit more to their game, and I reckon Rincon has done that.
The derby's next week, the Derby della Mole, obviously. Kev, do you give them a chance?
If it had been away from the Juventus Stadium, or the Allianz Stadium, then I would. But I just fear that after a relatively poor showing against Inter this weekend, that Juve will steamroll them a little, and it could derail Torino's challenge for Champions League football.
Do you think Juve care? Because I can't see them being all that motivated.
I think they haven't cared for a number of weeks, but as the weeks go on, I think losing face, I think professional pride might finally kick in for the last few outings of the campaign, particularly when there's local pride at stake.
Local pride, yeah, it's a funny old thing, especially in the city of Turin where everyone supports Torino. But anyway, Cristiano Ronaldo wants to win that, or more so, he doesn't care. He just wants to score goals because he's desperate to win the Cannonieri. which he probably won't do now, but we'll come on to reasons for why that is a little bit later. Okay. Is that enough on Torino?
I think so.
I think so.
Plenty.
So Torino are now in the Europa League places, 3 points off the current occupiers of the fourth and final Champions League place, who are Atalanta. Because my God, what a week for the Bergamaschi. And they're fourth. They're holding down fourth place alone, Kev. They're not sharing it with anyone or missing out on head-to-head this time. They are fourth. They are in the Champions League places with 4 games left.
And remember how despondent you were last week, worrying about the Monday, Thursday.
Yeah, but I even now, it's easy to underestimate Gasparini's powers, and he's proven me wrong again.
I'm trying to debate whether last Monday's victory over Napoli was more crucial than tonight finally being able to break Udinese down, because after the 0-0 with Spal the other week, or was it
Empoli?
Yeah, Empoli. And the goalkeeper pulled off a couple of great saves tonight. You just thought, are they going to do it again?
Well, I've been saying this for a while now. When Atalanta play a big team, I've no worries because I know the players will take chances when they come and they will give everything. It's when they play teams like Udinese, like Empoli, like Chievo, like Cagliari that I think, this is going to be a problem. So I think tonight's game was actually a bigger win, strangely enough, because Udinese have been a bit of a bogey team for Atalanta in recent seasons. Whereas against Napoli, they've not won the last few, but they've picked up a few wins against them in recent years.
Yeah. And I think when De Paul hits the post before Atalanta take the lead, you kind of just get that feeling that it might be their time.
Yeah, it's one of those. It was the last game in front of the Curva Pisani as well, so it was quite nice for them to get the win. But yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Maybe that's us saying it now after the event, though. Who knows? But this is it's unbelievable, Vito. I don't really know what to say because I know they finished 4th 2 seasons ago, but it doesn't feel like it because it wasn't rewarded with Champions League football because Serie A only had 3 places that season, which was frustratingly the last season of that being the case. But Atalanta in the Champions League, is it going to happen?
I reckon it's a great possibility, and the main reason for that is I believe Atalanta have a clear style of play, which they've become used to over the last nearly 3 years now, and I think that's beneficial. Although teams like Inter, Milan, and even Roma probably have better squads on paper, but Atalanta are definitely better as a whole than the sum of the parts, whereas the other teams I just mentioned, they're still struggling with their own playing identity, and I'm sure off the pitch their issues are filtering through to the locker room one way or another. Whereas Atalanta, even off the pitch, they're looking pretty good themselves.
Well, what I thought was quite impressive about this was there was no Josip Ilicic, the grandmother of Bergamo. He wasn't playing, and they still won 2-0. I know it took a penalty to make the breakthrough in the end, but still got the 3 points. And
a soft penalty.
Do you think?
I only saw a couple of replays, but
Andrea Mazziello does not go down unless he is shot. That's an outrageous claim.
No, yeah, he made it look like he was shot, but there was yeah. I think he made the most. I
won't have Andrea Mazziello's moral fiber question on this podcast. He has never been anything other than a complete professional throughout his playing career. I can't think of any examples of any incidents where he has been anything other than a complete professional.
Maybe we should dig some up post pod if we can find any.
Don't do that, because if people Google it, they will lose all respect for the man. But Mazziello, the year Atalanta qualified for the Europa League, which was amazing, he almost started a new phase of his career, because everything before Atalanta was obviously quickly forgotten or tarred because of what he did. And since then, he's been incredible. And if you didn't know and you watched Masiello play for Atalanta every single week, and then someone told you that, all right, one of these Atalanta players has been done for deliberately scoring an own goal before, Masiello's probably the last player you would expect, because he never stops. He's an absolute warrior. There's a big, one of the fans has a banner for him in the Curva Nord that's like Masiello the Wall or something, and he loves it. He goes over to them every game. But he's been so impressive, and it makes it more bizarre that he did what he did a few years ago.
There was that great clearance off the line last week.
Oh, I tweeted the picture of this. If Atalanta get the Champions League, this is going to be an iconic moment, because Golini had given up on it.
It didn't look like Masiello was going to get there.
No, well, he shouldn't have got there, because Masiello's not a fast player either. But for those who didn't see it, Arik Milik dinked one over Golini, and Masiello started about 10 yards behind the ball, but managed to get back and hook it off the line just as, I'd say, 70% of the ball had already crossed the line?
Oh, yeah, huge proportion.
Ridiculous. Like, basically, that goal that City had the other day in the Premier League, it was so close to being that. But that was at 1-0 Napoli as well. So for that to happen when it did was absolutely huge. And he's not scoring as many goals as he has in previous seasons, but he's still so important. Another player who doesn't score many goals, but is incredibly important and is amazing value on social media, Vito, is Martin Darun. He's maybe not the type of player that you like all that much, because he's hard. He's not the most technically gifted. He can pass the ball, but he's not technically the strongest. But Atalanta wouldn't be fourth if they didn't have him.
Well, he does the hard work in the midfield, and he is that crucial ball winner that Atalanta need, because most of the other guys, they are more technical, and also you got someone like Remo Freuler. He will do the hard work as well, but he knows how to make those attacking runs. But Darun, well, he stepped up to take the penalty, and it was a good strike from 11 meters. And in the first semi-final there for the Coppa Italia, he did score with that great rocket of a shot. So, it's good that he does his role, and even if he chips in with a goal here and there, it's nice. But Atalanta in general, I think one of the things that's great about them under Gasparini is that although you've got Papu Gomez, you have Duvan Zapata, the other players can contribute with goals anyway. And I think it's important these days to have that even spread, not just to rely on one or two critical goal scorers.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And you see the fullbacks contributing so often this season, which was one of the keys in their last fourth place finishing season, with Andrea Conti getting, I think it was 7 that season, and Mattia Caldara getting similar figures. We have a question from Azzurri5542, good name. Kev, if Atalanta finished fourth, they fully deserved it. But do you think they have the resources to make a decent run, I assume he means in Europe, and not crash in Serie A?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how far they would progress in the Champions League. They clearly be in the fourth pot, and then it's entirely down to the luck of the draw as to who you get. Take for instance Inter were fourth seed this year and got an extremely tough draw, although they should have made better of it. But no, I think it's a bit different as to when they started in the Europa League, and you start so early. Now qualifying for the Champions League, there's not even a pre-qualifier for Serie A side. So
there's no qualification at all. It's straight into the group.
So they should. I would expect them to manage. It's 6 games. I think they would manage okay with that. And you're not going to really, well, again, depending on the draw, you're not going to really far-flung places like you sometimes get with the Europa League. I think they'd be fine. And actually, how strong they are at home, I think, could even help carry them through to the last 16, which won't then come around until February.
what I would like about Atalanta being in Europe, and this is removing my colours now, would be, they would do everything they possibly could to qualify. They wouldn't just show up. They would fancy themselves to cause a few upsets and to try and get out of the group. And even if they came up short and got into the Europa League, they'd still be delighted to be in the knockout rounds of the Europa League. But you wouldn't get this. You can't imagine them being afraid of anyone. They just go for it. When they played, who did they play? Lyon, Dortmund, and Everton. They just went at them. And in the last few minutes against Dortmund, it kind of just went wrong. But that seemed more down to fatigue than anything else. But it's easy to forget as well, because they've been impressing for so many seasons, and because they were in Europe. When did they play in the Europa League? Last season, and then they should have been in it this year, but the penalty shootout defeat in qualification. Atalanta have the 14th biggest wage in Serie A. 14th. It's ridiculous. I think teams like Sassuolo pay more on wages than Atalanta do, but they just keep getting results. And Vito, it points towards the genius Gianpiero Gasparini's management.
It shows that he has that style of play that really elevates the quality of the players, and even the more experienced players have improved under him. So Marciello, as you mentioned earlier, and Papu Gomez, although he was a good player at Catania, he has really become a leader at Atalanta. And yeah, just his skill set, I think, has improved as well. It's not just that, I'm not saying he was technically poor at Catania, but just his Atalanta version has just gone up so many levels. And also, yeah, just the way Zapata has improved this season. Who would have thought he would have produced such numbers? So I think that's where Gasparini deserves enormous credit for really getting the best out of these players. And I think his football philosophy is crucial to that.
There's not one player at Atalanta that hasn't improved under Gasparini. If you look at that squad now, every single one of them, Golini is amazing now compared to what he was 2 months ago. All of the defenders, we've spoken about Maziello. Whatever defender comes in, Gianluca Mancini, incredible. But Jose Luis Palomino has been so good this season. And when he arrived, he was very, very shaky. He can still be a little bit headless at times, but he's really good now. Hans Hateboer, I criticised him so much last season, but now I wouldn't have anyone in the team ahead of him, because he knows what he's doing and he does it perfectly. Remo Freuler, Martin de Roon, Timothy Castagna, Robin Gosens, Josip Ilicic, a player who performed twice a season at every other club. Now he gives elite performances maybe 20 times a season, and he's huge. And they've got the new batch of kids ready to come in as well. Roberto Piccoli played tonight. He's played a couple of times, and he looks like he's going to be maybe even succeeding Musa Barrow as the first choice alternative to Duvan Zapata for at least the next 4 games. He'll probably end up on loan somewhere else next season or whatever. But if they got to the Champions League, Kev, do you think they'd have enough about them to attract a bigger brand of player? And if they could do that, should they?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think you've answered for me. I don't think they should. I think I think they would struggle to attract, if you like, a big name rather than better players, because I think that's the toss-up. Is a big name necessarily a better player? And if it upsets the equilibrium that they've got there within the squad, and I think also the benefit would be that maybe there aren't any. I was going to use the word not outstanding players. They are outstanding individually and as a team, but there's nobody that really strikes you as, Inter are going to come in and just throw money at to take them away. And I think that's the strength that Atalanta would have if they qualified next year. I would imagine 95% of the players will still be there next season, and then you do have a bit of an issue if you bring in someone on a large wage.
Yeah, well, we have actually seen it this season. Vito, Emiliano Rigoni came in and didn't get much of a look in and soon moved back to Zenit.
I thought, in a way, it was a bit of a pity because he did start off well by scoring 2 goals against Roma in that 3-3 draw early in the season. But I think after that surprising elimination to Copenhagen in the qualifying rounds, it seemed that there wasn't much need for him. So eventually Gasparini phased him out, and that was about it. And he had to leave Atalanta. So with qualifying to the Champions League being direct now, they don't have to go through a playoff. Perhaps they could entice someone to come there, but at the same time, it's got to be worthwhile for that player. And also, you wouldn't want that player to necessarily break the dynamic that Atalanta has. You'd like to think this extra player wouldn't be there to sort of stifle Papu, Ilicic, or Zapata. That player needs to be adding something to that team so it takes the pressure off those guys.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone out here the other day about Gareth Bale and his situation at Real Madrid, and jokingly they said, "Oh, Atalanta should have a go at him." And jokingly we spoke of, like, obviously that would never happen, but honestly, I don't think I'd have him. I really don't think I'd have him. I think he'd just ruin it. A player like that coming into that situation would just completely spoil what they've got in the dressing room and on the pitch. And I just think keep these players together if it's at all possible. Zapata, I think, would probably go, especially if Atalanta don't get the Champions League. I just think someone will come in with 40 million for him, and obviously that's too good an offer to turn down. But anyway, guys, basta. Enough with Atalanta. We'll spoil it. We'll move on. We've got Roma 3, Cagliari 0. Justin Kluivert, he got another start, got another assist. Vito, he's doing bits.
It's good to see that he's contributing. I found it rather bizarre in the later stages of Di Francesco's coaching career with Roma that he was persisting with the idea of Zaniolo playing wide, which I don't think really suits his characteristics. And Kluivert is a natural winger, so I think it's good that Ranieri has been able to utilise him. And even though there's only a few games left, it'd be good if he can keep it up for the remainder of the season. And then whoever takes over for 2019-2020 can find some use for Kluivert because he has the pace and he has the ball control. But I think he just needs a coach that's going to make him, less raw and more polished so he can be more consistent and more decisive in matches.
I think that is it, right? And that only comes with more game time, though. I think it was it in the derby when Lazio smashed them and Kluivert sat on the bench for the whole 90 minutes. And I thought the game was just calling out for someone like him who could do something quite unpredictable, quite on a whim. And he just got left on the bench, which was quite strange. But anyway, Kev, Pastore, he's not been very good this season. He was booed and whistled before the game, as Alistair McKenzie, who was there for us, described on the website, on our Facebook page. You can go and watch his post-match video. But he started to win people over a little bit there.
Yeah, I saw that he was he got booed when he was announced, and he got applauded off after his performance. I'm a bit of a fan of Pastore. I always have been, largely for what he did at Palermo. And all the time he was at PSG, he was one of those players that I always thought someone should go for, because PSG were probably trying to get him off the wage bill, and that he's kind of just merged into the general malaise at Roma this year.
Is he not the most Roma player ever, though? Like, he's got this ability in there somewhere, but so often he just doesn't show up.
Well, yeah, and I'm not sure if sometimes he wants to be the big fish in a small pond. Maybe that's the type of player that Atalanta would go for to add some depth, Connor. But yeah, he has been disappointing. But so many people at Roma are. I think it's harsh for the fans to sort of single him out, because at times he's been a little bit left on the bench like Kluivert.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel with Clivert, I just feel there's the element of the unknown with them, and it could be as much of a negative as a positive because you don't know what he's going to do. He might not know what he's going to do. But with Pastore, I don't think there's anything we don't know about him. Now we've seen him for long enough. We know what he does. We know his shortcomings. We know what he's good at, and he's not improved on his shortcomings enough while he was away at PSG.
But when Roma have struggled, do you not think that there's an element of you give a player confidence by just saying, you're going to have a run of games. We're going to, show what you can do. If you're in and out of the side all the time, it's a little difficult if you're a player that thrives off of the confidence of your coach. I don't know if he ever had that with Di Francesco.
I think it does come down to the player's character as well. I've never seen Javier Pastore as being someone who would say, okay, I've got an opportunity now, I'm going to grab it and make sure I take full control of it. Maybe that's just me putting that onto him, but I don't know. I've never been quite convinced by his attitude.
Well, that's what a lot of people have wanted from him and expected from him because of his age and his experience, and he's never going to deliver it.
I don't think his ability can be questioned, though, but I think it's similar to the Josip Ilicic thing at all of his other clubs. He's got incredible ability, but you don't see it enough. And I think that's more frustrating than someone with limited ability who tries really hard. Like Martin Darun, for example, is loved because he just does everything he possibly can, even tries things he can't do, whereas Pastore maybe doesn't try quite as hard as he should. And maybe they'd like him a little bit more if he did. But Roma they've quietly, I don't want to say they've turned things around because I'm still not convinced they have. And I know they've not lost for a while now, but they're still a little bit unconvincing, Vito.
That's true. With the thing with interim managers is that they can turn things around, but ultimately they're just band-aid solutions. I do like Ranieri as a coach because he is that guy that he can come in and provide that quick fix, and he wants his teams to be working hard and be solid in the organisation, but obviously it's not a long-term fix. And with Roma, I still believe it's either a cultural or mentality issue that they are a team that are excellent on the day, but there's certain games where they fall apart. In this particular game, they played Cagliari, and a lot of the possession was rather meaningless. So for Roma to capitalise on that, I think it was more of a reflection of how good these players are when they are played in adequate positions and they have a clear understanding of their roles. But unfortunately, this sort of stuff is not sustainable for Roma for 38 games in a season, which is a shame for them and a shame for the fans.
Well, someone who has a clear understanding of his role across the city is Felipe Caicedo at Lazio. He got another couple of goals. They beat Sampdoria 2-1. It was a big win for them, Kev. And Caicedo scored again. His goals to minutes ratio is very, very impressive this season. But I still don't think he's very good, and I can't really work out why he's scoring.
No, I think it's just a case of a player having a little bit of a purple patch. He's 30 years old now. You look at his goal scoring average across his career. Mind you, I looked at it at games. You mentioned about the minutes, but it's still pretty poor. He'll probably be doing exactly what he was doing last season next year. It's a different option for them, I suppose, in a way. But he's not gonna suddenly start pulling up trees at 30 years old.
Vito, you shook your head when I said I didn't think he was very good.
Well, actually, that's because I agree, because I don't think he is that good. He is physically stronger than Immobile, and look, he can chip in with goals here and there. But the thing that really made me shake my head there was more the first goal and the brain fade Omar Colley had. Sampdoria are known to play out from the back, And Collie has had a good season, but I think it was his inability to find a passing option, whether it be in front of him, to his sides, or backwards. And that resulted in Caicedo disposing the ball and just pretty much having a free run. And then when Collie tried to tackle Caicedo, he just fell over himself and it looked like an easy stroll into the goal. So, yeah, you can admire Caicedo for his persistence, but I just thought Collie was really bad in that moment, and it was like he just threw the towel away just instantly, basically.
I'm surprised you said Colley's had a good season, Vito, because I saw him live last week at Bologna, and I've not seen much of Sampdoria this year. He was their worst player by far. He kept getting caught on the ball. He was negative because he didn't want to he was almost doubting his own ability to pass the ball forwards and was just going back to the centre halves all the time. He just really shone as a really, really poor part of that Sampdoria side last weekend.
I think he's had some games where he has been a bit erratic, or even though that he's around 26 or 27 years old, that he can still look a bit raw. Not only that, with Joachim Andersen out of the team for this game, he has been Sampdoria's best defender, and he's usually a very clean and very shrewd player as well. So Anderson's presence is critical in that defense. Whereas with Collie, I think it's more that being in his first year in Serie A, unfortunately, he's going to make those kind of mistakes. And it's a bit of a shame that he gave away that goal against Lazio, because he has had games where he's looked better than Lorenzo Tonelli, who did take his place after about 15 or 16 minutes against Aquile. And there are times where he can use his physical strength to his advantage, and where his ball use isn't actually that bad.
To the other side of this, Lazio, it was a big win for them. But if we're going to talk about Lazio at the moment, sadly, predictably, infuriatingly, it's not the football that's of any interest, really, Kev, is it? Because their fans were up to no good again since we last spoke. They went to the San Siro, and surprise, surprise, they aimed some racist chants at Timo Bakayoko and Frank Kessie, and it just, they never cease to amaze, do they?
No, well, they never cease to amaze, and I'm not sure if this is breaking news that is coming out now, but I have a famous sports broadcaster's news channel on in front of me, and I've just been reading that Lazio will not be getting a stadium ban.
Yeah, it's a suspended sentence.
How do you give them a suspended sentence? That's
because they've such a clean record, Kev. They've never done anything.
Yeah, and that's as disappointing as the level of the atrocious events last Wednesday.
What's most atrocious about it is, are you in any way surprised that they've not been punished properly for this?
Well, oddly, I kind of expected to read that they were going to get a partial closure. And obviously it was the travelling fans this time, but to say that they get us, it's if they do it again. This isn't a first offence.
No, it's not the first offence this week. They were doing this earlier in the week. Earlier that day, they were doing things in the centre of Milan. It's unbelievable. But it's not. It's so painfully and utterly predictable that.
But it's like they're baiting. It's like they're baiting the Italian Football Federation to say, "Go on, we dare you. We know how weak and pitiful you are in standing up to these sort of actions." And it's almost less about. Well, no, I shouldn't say it's less about the racial abuse of the individuals that they're aiming it at, but they are also making a point of, we know we can get it. We know we can do this, and very few people will bat an eyelid at the punishment or punishment in inverted commas that
Lazio came out
handed.
after the game and released an absolutely pathetic statement saying, "Oh, the club would like to distance ourselves from the actions of a minority of supporters." Dov was at the game. It was the whole away support. He posted a video after the game of them all leaving. They were all singing it. This was not a minority. Lazio's ultras do this. There's no two ways about it. Everybody knows what Lazio's ultras are, what they do, and there's absolutely no punishment for it. It's happened so many times now that I don't think it would be too much to say they should just be thrown out of the Coppa Italia, put Milan in the final, completely punish Lazio, because they're not going to stop with these suspended punishments. Even if they did close the stadium, it doesn't stop anything.
No, that is exactly what they should have done. They should have thrown them out of the competition, regardless of it being at the semi-final stage. Because at the end of the day, there would have been, there's the potential for trouble because the final is going to be held in their stadium.
So what? Play it somewhere else.
But there's what better way to say, look, we're tossing you out of this competition, and you can sit there in your houses and you can watch this final going on, that, let's face it, has been dominated by Juventus in the last few years. So it's finally a chance for somebody else to pick up a domestic trophy. And we'll say, no, see you later.
I do think if it was in Rome and they were thrown out of it, the game would never go ahead because there would be riots. But I don't care. Take it to Bari, play it in Milan. There's enough stadiums around the place. Play it somewhere else. Take it out of Italy. Who cares? I'm actually getting sick of talking about this because this isn't the first time we've had to speak about this in the last couple of weeks. But on the topic, let's give Bakayoko some credit, Vito, because he's come out of this looking like an absolute saint. The way he's handled this has been so admirable.
Yeah, I think it's a reflection of who he is as a person. If we were just to speak in general, he has copped his fair share of racial abuse since being at Milan. And, I think he's also shown that, I'm sure he's offended by all the comments and the chants, but he's gone on and played football and let the football do the talking. So I really admire that in a player, that all these opposition supporters can try and run him down just because of his skin color and his race. But he shows what makes him special, what makes him a valuable footballer. And he has, after a poor start, become one of AC Milan's assets on the pitch. So I think good on him for putting in the performances that he does and show him that there's more to him than just his appearance. He is there to play football, and ultimately that's what should matter the most.
I think his character has been so clearly shown. And he is such an incredibly thick-skinned person. An incredible character to not only play on, but to just keep going about his business. And I've never wanted an individual player to score more than I did when he was. I would have loved nothing more than for him to pop up with 2 goals to knock Lazio out, and just because they would have hated that so much. If him and Cassie both scored, it would have been incredible. And I do really hope the next time they play each other, he absolutely pumps them, because I have a lot of time for Bakayoko, even more now after everything he's put up with recently. But to something more positive about the Samp Lazio game, Kev, your mate Fabio Quagliarella got another milestone goal. He's all right, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He's. I think he's going to be Capocannoniere.
Is he allowed though? Because he's old.
Yes, of course he's allowed.
Oh, I thought they might stop him from winning that because he's over the age of 35.
I've got nothing wrong with people my age.
You're not 36, mate.
Well, only just. But I'm certainly not as young and sprightly as Quagliarella. But
don't think
you're just concerned he won't have that next season, that form. I think that's what you touched upon in the past, that if he does not have this great run next season, that it'd be risky for Italy to take him to Euro 2020, assuming that the Azzurri qualify.
What are you worried about? He gets better every season. He had his
I like to
best
think
ever
so.
season last year.
He
Had
won't-
his
he
best
won't.
ever season this season. So next season he's going to score 35 goals.
He's not going to score more goals next year.
Why not? Everyone said this last year.
No, I don't even think. Oh, wait, there, I'm realising.
Italian Roger Miller.
I was about to say, I don't think Stamp will have the season they've had this year.
Well, Samp are just doing their usual thing, impress until a certain point and then stop
Pull
playing. Which must be maddening for you, Vito. But anyway, let's not do that. Let's not do that now. You can do that next week. But because we do have to talk about the Derby d'Italia, sadly. Am I alone in not caring about this game, Kev?
I must admit, I didn't give it much of a look, partly because I kind of have Inter down as qualifying for the Champions League. Juve have wrapped up the league. I kind of thought that both sides would have given it a little bit more intensity. I suppose Inter did for the first half, but like a lot of
Inter
these
should have won
games-
more convincingly.
Or they should have won it all.
Yeah, I like lots of these games. Just for the regard, going back to the sort of the interest in it, they kind of get hyped up and then fail to deliver.
Yeah, but this only looked like it was going to be interesting when Juve might have gone and won the league there, but they took care of it a week earlier. But yeah, but I don't care. But Rajan Angolan scored a good goal. Well, I don't think he did. His volley was he did well to get that volley on target, but there's no way on earth that should be beating Szczesny, Vito.
I'm probably not going to be that negative. I was happy with Mike. But more than anything, Nainggolan knows how to put power on his shots. So for Nainggolan to strike it like he did, I was impressed with it. And I suppose because it's Szczesny, you'd think he does make the odd error, more so when he was back at Arsenal. So I suppose that's why beating Szczesny is probably not as prestigious as beating other goalkeepers. The one downside I'd probably say was when Nainggolan hit that, there was a bit of a swerve on the ball. And like I said earlier, I can picture Nainggolan putting the power in that shot, but the additional swerve, I think that's just more the physics of modern footballs causing it to swerve like it did than on any superb technique on Nainggolan's part.
I think I was harsh on Szczesny. You've been a little bit harsh on Nainggolan. Kev, Cristiano Ronaldo scored his 600th career goal. Yay. Good for him.
Yeah, can I care about that less than you care about the Derby d'Italia?
Yeah, but I care about it even less. So
Okay.
Cristiano Ronaldo will be disappointed if he knows that no one cares. Let's talk about the off-field stuff here as well, because Inter fans did funnies. Did you see this? They did a big what was it? Oops, you did it again, which was like the preface of what was to come, which I thought was very, very good. And then it was a game over thing, which I think was an imitation of something Milan had done a few years previously. But basically, all of the Inter fans were just taking the piss out of Juve for losing in the Champions League, which, funny as it was, I thought was a little bit sad, Kev, given that how their Champions League campaign ended this year and how they used to win Champions Leagues themselves, and now they're celebrating Juve not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. I think, the fan choreography is one of the wonderful things about Italian football that, certainly we don't see over here in England too much. But when it's based on the failings of others and you've not been particularly successful yourself, I'd have cringed at that. I think if I'd been an Inter fan, you saw the smiling faces of the fans that were holding up the mock
Ajax
Champions
power.
League. Yeah,
Ajax power.
And I just don't know. There's a little bit of me that has gone, yeah, let's not sort of throw stones. People
I know, it's like,
in this,
guys,
people in
remember
glass
when we played that other Dutch team and managed to not win and ruin our own Champions League.
God, I hadn't even thought about that actually. That it was another Dutch side as well.
One that's not as good.
Far too close to home for people to be making those types of.
Yeah, it was quite strange. But anyway, let's take things even further away from the pitch. Talking about Inter, shall we? Mauro Icardi's at his best on social media. Vito, have you seen his sexy Instagram posts?
I guess this is a reflection of the modern world. This is the 21st century, and people just do bizarre things with social media. It's easy to criticize, but come on,
Kev,
yeah, not my thing.
Kev, do you know what Instagram is?
I've got Instagram, thank you, Connor. I'm currently looking at Mauro Icardi.
Right, give us a running commentary then if you're just looking at that.
What have we got? Oh, so we've got a bit of breast on his abdomen.
Oh, before you want to see the breast on the abdomen, you have to go to, I think it's 2 or 3 posts before that where they're in the back of a car.
I was about to say, because the one before that is him cuddling a child on a sofa.
Poorly placed that. Okay,
so he looks like a young man, very fearful of his first driving lesson, with some sultry older lady not giving him the driving attention that she should be.
Okay, and now go to the next one where they're in the back of the car.
Oh, they've moved to the back because they clearly parked up for some dogging. And he's oddly enough he's putting an index finger to her mouth, which
yeah, but go closer. He's pressing it against her nose. What's
okay. I was about to say, because if he was making her be quiet, then I think that's probably a sentiment that lots of us.
It's a few months too late. That one.
Yeah.
Then
a millimeter down, and he's picking her nose for her. But
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
But they get out of the car next, and they're just standing in an underground car park. And then she puts her breasts on his abdomen.
Oh, I think they've moved home there, though, haven't they? Because I think he's on a kitchen table.
They're somewhere else. Somewhere else. And then I don't know what's happening in the latest one. But yeah, head over to Mauro Icardi's Instagram account. It can be funny for all the wrong reasons at times, but he's a good follow. Anyway, where was I this weekend? I was at Bologna. This relegation sorted. The only thing Serie A has left is the Champions League places, because Bologna pumped Empoli 3-1. They went 1-0 down. They didn't deserve to. Came back, won. Job done. Bologna safe. Empoli are in big trouble. Vito, is this them gone?
Look, it's very likely now. And also looking at the draw that Empoli have now, it's going to be even tougher because they haven't been able to pick up enough points against relegation rivals. Not only that, Bologna really deserved their win, and similar to the Sump game, I think they could have scored more than the 3 goals too. So Mihajlovic has really steered them clear to safety, given the Felsinei a playing identity. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to seeing Bologna next season. I think Mihajlovic is... Well, obviously, he's done a better job than Inzaghi, which is probably not that hard, but I think he'll do a lot better than what Roberto Donadoni did.
Yeah, I kind of echo what you say. I've seen Bologna a few times this year, and under Inzaghi, I'm not exaggerating to say I think they were the worst football team I've ever seen. Every single time. They were horrendous. But now under Mihajlovic, they've got something about them. Riccardo Orsolini. Oh, my God. He was horrible on Saturday. Horrible. He was basically a 12th player for Empoli because he was giving the ball away. He was missing easy chances. He was giving Empoli chances. And then he got the winner. And it was amazing. He thumped one in from the edge of the box. But Mihajlovic looked like he wanted to murder him at times. I was surprised he stayed on the pitch. The Bologna fans were ready to kill him as well. And I was really, really worried for his safety leaving that pitch until he did that goal. And I'm happy for him because I want to see him do well. But he has a lot of creases in his game that he needs to iron out, especially under Mihajlovic, or else his legs won't function for too much longer. But yeah, Nicola Sansone was also good. But head over to FootItalianFootball.com and read my Match report and post-match analysis. To hear more about that, and I did the video where I basically just sat in the Dallara criticizing Riccardo Orsolini for a few minutes, which I felt quite mean doing, but he deserved it. I was also at Spal Genoa, which finished 1 each in a game that should have been important, but wasn't because of the game I was at the day before. This was fine. Both teams probably happy with a win. Spal deserved it a little bit more. Not really too much to say there. Frosinone 0, Napoli 2, Chiesa 1, Parma 1, Fiorentina 0, Sassuolo 1. Kev, why don't Fiorentina ever win at home?
I have no idea. The problem is that they're not really winning away from home.
No, they're just not very good, are they?
No, they have. Sassuolo jumped over them today.
Which says a lot because Sassuolo, I was talking about them potentially getting relegated.
Yeah, because they've been erratic this season, but Fiorentina are sitting in 12th, and I wasn't particularly positive about them bringing Montella in. They really need some direction.
If you look at the table, Fiorentina are on 40 points. Empoli are on 29. So Fiorentina only have 11 points more than Empoli. And they're how many points off the Champions League? 19. Oh, it's there. They're in a bad state. And Vieri Capretta says that this is exactly what was expected of them this year. I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure they were expected to be quite this poor. There's no reason why they shouldn't be up around where Sampdoria are.
They're so bad, though, and they look so devoid of optimism that you can see the best players just being, you want to try and bring some other players in by saying this is what we've also got to build on. We've got Chiesa, Simeone, if he can sort of rediscover some form. Unfortunately, you think that those players there are going to be ripped out of the club during the summer and they could go into freefall.
Yeah, Chiesa will go, surely. And if not, I think he's quite foolish to stay there. And Luis Muriel, who knows if he's going to be as good next season, because he never is he? He's good for a bit and then he's not. But anyway, Serie B, Lecce, they're joint top with Brescia. They beat Brescia 2-1. Vito, they look like they're coming back up.
Oh, there's a good chance, and it's a pretty incredible achievement considering that they had just been promoted from Serie A last season. Padova at the moment, who were promoted from the group, the rock bottom, but Lecce, they've been able to cope with the higher standard in quality, and good on them. After becoming another club that fell into debt, they've worked their way back up, and also, I think the coach Fabio Liverani is probably starting to come good with his coaching after some bad spells at Genoa and Leyton Orient.
It's definitely exciting there. Looking at the bottom as well. Sorry to Nicholas Carroll if you're listening. Foggia aren't in great shape in the bottom, but it is what it is. Anyway.
No, but Livorno and Venezia could be in some trouble, and I think. Otherwise, I just mentioned, they're probably going to go back down. And Carpi, after being in Serie A in 2015, 2016, they managed to beat Salernitana 5-2 away, but they're probably looking as good as gone themselves.
Yeah, Carpi have picked up a couple of wins in the last few weeks, but it does look like they've just left it that little bit too late. But Livorno, you're right, they're kind of just slowly tumbling down and down and down and down. You could see them getting caught up because they are only 3 points ahead of Carpi, 2 ahead of Foggia. So problems there for sure. But okay, guys, we've had some highs, we've had some lows, but we've made it to the end. So thanks for sharing this beautiful experience with me, Vito Doria.
Welcome, Connor.
Kev, it's been fine.
Cheers.
You can go get some sleep now, but please just promise me you'll wake up again in the morning. I know when you get to your age, even going to bed at night can be a little bit of a risk.
Oh, thanks, mate. Yeah. I'm off to Barcelona, so...
How are you getting there?
Flying.
Are you? Are you allowed to fly?
Of course I'm. Yeah, I've got to wear those socks. For the TV.
You must have some amount of powers to them because you are flying places every other day, mate. But that's quite nice. I'm happy for you. When are you going?
Actually, I'm not going till the early hours of tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow being...
As we're now on Tuesday, 3 a.m. on Wednesday.
Okay. That's all right. But yeah, enjoy that. I might be going to Madrid for the final, irrespective of who's actually there. So if you guys get there, I might see you there.
Yeah, you definitely will if we get there.
All right. Nice one. Call it a date. Anyway. All right. Thank you to you two boys. Everybody else, head over to ForzaItalianFootball.com now for everything about Serie A, basically. Yeah. Just go there. We're at games every single week, usually 6 or 7. So just go and listen to us speak from inside the stadiums. And if you don't want to do that, you're an idiot, but we'll speak to you on the podcast next week. So goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.